It may be said that this video is in part an exercise in futility. It may be said that this video consists of me answering a list of 99 questions that some random stranger on the internet made up 6 years ago, and that hundreds of people here on YouTube answered on camera about 5 years ago, and then that the whole world forgot about. But it may also be said that this is a slightly artistic exercise in juxtaposing the reality of what YouTube used to be with what YouTube now has become. I mean, there's this strange sense in which we can look back on YouTube as 2015 as an ideal that today we can't even aspire to achieve on this same platform. There's this really strange lost avant-garde of what YouTube used to be, maybe primarily because there was a time when most people were coming on YouTube without even the possibility of making money out of it coming into their minds. And maybe also because people had a greater appreciation for, a greater priority on the extent to which this was a form of diarism. Gee, that sounds like a dirty word. Making a diary, creating a record of your own life, and at the same time, reaching out to strangers to make friends. Remember that? Still to this day, if you think about it, technologically, there's no way that any of the applications on your phone that claim to help you make friends can possibly compete with what YouTube does. There's no way someone can look at a photograph of you on Instagram or Tinder or even Facebook and get the sense of what kind of person you are and what it's like to talk to you and what it's like to spend time with you the way you can get to know somebody on YouTube. But yeah, I think, primarily because of the money-making instinct, and maybe secondarily also the fear of exposure, the fear that talking about yourself in a personal, honest, and intimate way on YouTube can lead to your destruction. The reality of doxing and swatting and defamation and, people calling up your boss and getting you fired after they see you on YouTube and disagree with you. There are different, elements that kind of silenced that core of self-expression and of reaching out to people in a kind of honest, open-minded way. It used to be what YouTube was all about, All right, so today, if you search YouTube for question tag, you won't even find a trace of what used to be a major part of how people made friends, how people socialized, how people, again, they kind of created a diary of what was going on in their lives so they could look back on it themselves one day here on YouTube. Now, if you search question tag, you get YouTube videos about English grammar. We use the term question tag in linguistics, a certain type of feature of a sentence in English. And if you put in YouTube question tag, you might think that's also, but no, then you get advice on how you can make more money, how you can do search engine optimization by adding tags to your YouTube videos. So, times have changed. I think for a lot of you in the audience, you'll hear this and go like, oh yeah, that's right. People used to make lists of questions and send them around to their friends on YouTube, on Tumblr, maybe by email at that time. And then people used to make YouTube video this way. And look, I'm going to try to provide something honest and interesting and valuable in my answers to what are, admittedly, a pretty stupid set of questions. All right. Number 1, do you sleep with your closet doors open or closed? I assume this question is intended for really young teenagers, maybe people who still have closet doors open because they fall asleep afraid there's something or somebody hiding inside, but not really my problem in life. Do you take the shampoo and conditioner bottles from hotels? I have not used shampoo or conditioner in many, many years. Do you sleep with your sheets tucked in or out? So currently I live in semi-tropical Taiwan, in the mountains of Taiwan, and mosquitoes are really a going concern. So what I do with my bed sheets has everything to do with preventing mosquitoes from harassing me and ruining my night's sleep currently. However, Mosquitoes were not enough of a problem here for me to commit to buying a mosquito net, boxing in my bed with netting, the way that I absolutely had to when I was living in places like Thailand and Laos. So, I cope, but what I do with my bed sheets is a big part of that coping. Some of you might not have thought about that before, but yeah, if you want to live in the tropics, you never have to shovel the snow, but your life revolves around mosquitoes and cockroaches and some of those other concerns to a much greater extent than it does in a cold climate. Question 4. Have you ever stolen a street sign before? I believe the answer to this is no. I did know other teenagers when I was a teenager who were into stealing street signs, that kind of thing. And, I think the truth is I yearned for more authentic and more effective forms of rebellion against the establishment. Stealing a street sign just couldn't do it for me. And I think this is still a factor in the contrast between myself and, say, other activists in the vegan movement, where I find myself yearning for a more authentic and more effective form of rebellion against the status quo. I'm not interested in doing the things they do at their time. Question 6, do you cut out coupons but then never use them? Apparently, back in the year 2015, people still had coupons on paper. When I was a kid, there were coupons on paper. I haven't seen coupons on paper in a long, long time. I'm just being honest with you. Number 7, and I've bought newspapers on paper recently too. I've just out of interest, living here in Taiwan, I've bought the newspaper a couple times. So I don't see that around anymore. All right, number 7, would you rather be attacked by a big bear or a swarm of bees? It's a good thing they said a big bear and not just a small bear here. I'm from Canada. Getting attacked by bears is no joke. It's a funnier story to tell afterwards, but coping with bees attacking you or wasps attacking you, it's a lot easier to survive, I have to admit. So if I got a choice, I guess I'd rather deal with bees than bears. And I have no allergy. I've been bitten by wasps and bees. It's a lot easier to deal with than getting bitten by a bear in my experience. Number 8, do you have freckles? I think at this point it's safe to say the answer to that is no. Do you always smile for pictures? In my case, it could be the opposite. You might ask, do I ever smile for pictures? You get to see me smile in a photo on my Instagram once in a while. Number 10, what is your biggest pet peeve? I don't have anything in mind as a simple answer to this question, but given that we're kind of talking about the parasocial, para-reality of YouTube here, it really does bother me that people get in touch with me and they expect me to actually have a completely different personality from what I have on YouTube. Many people are delighted to find that I'm really the same as my YouTube personality. I've mentioned that many times over the years. Sometimes people have met me and talked to me and they're stunned. They say, wow, you're exactly the same person in real life that you are on YouTube. That's cool. And when I first got together with Melissa, my girlfriend, I can remember we used to walk like 45 minutes, long walk from our apartment to the mountain. We used to walk up a mountain for exercise. And, she could ask me a question about history or politics, and it could be a 45-minute, YouTube video. She'd get a performance just as coherent. My YouTube videos are all unscripted. You can ask me to go, and I could really present on the topic of history or whatever, just like I was doing a YouTube video. She said many, many times that she should be recording this. She said, look, I should be recording you while we walk to the mountain or walk to the grocery store because this is better than what's on YouTube. So some people are surprised that way, and that's cool. My pet peeve is when instead people get in touch with me and they expect me to be like this totally different person, like as if their idea is that because they're special, when they talk to me or they send me naked pictures of themselves or something, all of a sudden I'm going to be like really warm and uncritical and supportive towards them. I guess because they love me or they like me and they just expect me to reciprocate uncritically. And it's like, no. The same dude you've seen on YouTube all these years, the same really kind of rational, analytical, incisive, but also, quite harsh and castigating person. That's who I am all the time. I noticed that the last video I did before this one, just in passing, I refer to Jordan Peterson's daughter, who, by the way, is a fully grown woman. She's not a child or something. She's a fully grown woman who sells diet books for a living. She does tours promoting her diet book. I just refer to her in passing as a complete idiot. Like, it's not the main point of the video. I just stopped and I reflected, that there's some other YouTuber or some other broadcaster who not only wouldn't do that, but would do the opposite, who would take a moment to say in passing, now, I don't want to offend anyone, guys. I really respect Jordan Peterson, and I really respect his daughter, and she's selling these diet books on the internet. I think that's great. It's no, you just get from me really raw, really real in passing, I have no respect for this person. I think they're a complete idiot, in transition from one topic to the next. That's who I am. That's who I am all the time when the camera is off. So there are people who get in touch with me, and then they're hyper fragile to being exposed to this kind of criticism. And it's yeah, you've seen me call 100 other people an idiot, and now you're shocked that I'm calling you an idiot. And guess what? I've made videos time with this. I treat women the same as men. If you send me naked pictures of yourself, I'm going to treat you the same way as somebody who send me clothes pictures. I'm not easily seduced by money. If you're paying me, I don't really feel like you're my boss. If you send me $1 a month on Patreon, I'm not motivated by money that way. And I'm not easily seduced. You know what I mean? It's not like it's going to corrupt my sense of mission and purpose and authenticity and integrity if you're a good-looking female and you're flirting with me. And I feel like I'm immune to that. I've had good-looking women flirt with me my whole life. It just doesn't do anything for me one way or the other. So yeah, that's my incredibly short, succinct, and concise answer to question number 10. Number 11, do you ever count your steps when you walk? In the past, I did wear a watch that automatically counted my steps. That watch was a gift from my girlfriend. I could start wearing that watch again. It's only interesting if you're living a lifestyle where you're walking more than you think you are. You're like, whoa, okay, I really walked a lot today. And in various parts of my life, that's been true because I've never owned a car. So there have been times in my life when I was walking an enormous distance every day, and that was a little bit interesting. But no, I've never counted using my own mind or using a piece of paper and a pen. I've never had a priority that way for counting my own steps. I just haven't had to. Number 12, have you ever peed in the woods? Yes. I'm from Canada. I've been in the woods. I've been in one of the last parts of remaining jungle in Laos. I don't really remember peeing, but if you're in the woods of the jungle long enough, it's going to happen. Have you ever pooed in the woods? Possibly not. Number 14, do you ever dance even if there's no music playing? Yes, but it's normally to make my girlfriend laugh, or I can't think of any other context where that comes up. I've never tried to distract a police officer by dancing when there's no music, for example, but I could hypothetically think of that scenario. Number 15, do you chew your pens or pencils? No, that was something I stopped doing one day. I made the decision. I did chew pens and pencils all the way through childhood and teenage years. It was while I was in university, and there was one day when I decided this is over. I'm not going to do this anymore, and it was over. And I know it's a small thing, but I share this with you now by saying that you may have habits, you may have hang-ups where you think you're never going to change and you're never going to get over them. You can change. You can change real fast. It's always worth reflecting on. We have some of these simple sayings in English, a simple saying that masks a complex meaning. We say things like, he changed his mind. She changed her mind. Think about what it means to change your mind. You can change your mind about chewing on pencils. You can be a different person tomorrow than you were today, especially in this sort of habit of mind, shall we say. Okay, I thought this was for kids. Most of these questions have been aimed for kids. Question 16 was, how many people have you slept with this week? Let me tell you something. Unless you count the mosquitoes as people, #speciesism, I've been sleeping alone. 17, what size is your bed? It's definitely big enough for 2. Maybe it's big enough for 3. But yeah, here in central Taiwan, I have been sleeping alone. You guys know I made a trip to Greece recently. I made a trip to Canada recently. But no, here in Taiwan, there's been nothing to gossip about in that respect. Number 18, what is your song of the week? I really stopped listening to music entirely many years ago. I could get into the timeline of that, but right now, I mean, the only time I listen to music is probably when I'm preparing a YouTube video, when I'm looking for music to put in the video. I don't even listen to music when I lift weights, when I go to the gym anymore. And for example, when I was in Kunming, I did listen to music when I was lifting weights. Not always, but often. I was going to the gym multiple times per day, every day then. So, but yeah, that was really the last period I have of listening to music at all. Number 19, is it okay for guys to wear pink? I have many, many times worn pink on this channel. I haven't gotten any complaints. It's definitely true that forms of gender identification are changing in their significance because our society is becoming more accepting towards transgender individuals. So I think probably we're moving on to a new era of people using cultural and symbolic markers to indicate what gender it is they want to be treated as or called by or what have you. Number 20, do you still watch cartoons? You can guess. The answer is no. I mean, unless I'm sitting with my daughter, but to be honest with you, my daughter, whom I now haven't seen in more than 12 months, by the way, but back when I did get to see her, she was not into cartoons. We tried, she wasn't into it. So 21, what's your least favorite movie? Wow, and such a strangely worded question. Your least favorite movie. It's not asking what's the most overrated movie, but what's your least favorite movie? Phrased that way, I don't really have an answer for the question. It's not even asking like what's a movie you were forced to see because you were on an airplane and you resent it now, like a movie you saw in some circumstance like that. But phrased as such, I just don't have an answer to that question. Let's stay on track here. See, this is why I need an intern here to work the teleprompter. I normally don't read anything on the screen here. Where would you bury treasure if you had some? I guess it has to be somewhere you can find it again. But if you're from Canada, even on the west coast of Canada, there's empty land absolutely everywhere. There are plenty of places to hide something. But I guess I could name one of the Buddhist monasteries up in the mountains of Laos that I have a special memory of. That'd be a fun place to hide treasure. There's one right on the border between Laos and Thailand, I remember. But not the most convenient place to get that treasure back. Number 23, what do you drink with dinner? I wish I could say water, but it's not. I'm currently drinking a lot of soy milk. If I want to lose weight, if I want to get leaner, I should get rid of the soy milk and drink water. Soy milk is the number one source of fat in my diet. For that reason, if I just reduce my soy milk intake, I lose weight at any given time. That's been true for the past several years, say. Number 24, what do you dip a chicken nugget in? If I had a chicken nugget, I would give it a proper burial. I'd get a spade and dig a hole in my backyard and read it its last rites and bury it because I am vegan. So I don't dip no chicken nuggets in nothing. I'm against the whole system. Number 25, what is your favorite food? The truth is, I was asked this many, many years ago in a Q&A. I'm not motivated that way. I don't think about food that way. I don't feel about food that way. I kind of have a broccoli-based diet most of the time, where my diet is kind of planned around broccoli. Currently, frozen peas are a big problem, but it's not because I like any of it. I really don't live to eat. I have rather monastic taste in food. The last time I was in Toronto with my girlfriend, she made black beans rolled up in flatbread, rolled up in like a burrito. Black beans with tomatoes, diced tomatoes and tomato sauce. And I said, look, I could eat this 3 meals a day and never eat anything else. I think lettuce and a few other things in there. Real simple, high protein, nutritious vegan food. I can live my life around that. And, but for many years now, I really don't enjoy eating in this strange sense. So yeah, again, that's kind of interesting to talk about. But my life changed when I was separated from my daughter in many ways, and I do think that's one of the ways I've changed. My enjoyment of things I experienced through my eyes and my my perception of the world, that changed, and it changed probably. I would say that kind of came crashing down before my daughter was born. It wasn't really right at the time I was separated from my daughter, but then separation from my daughter was a tragedy that deepened my nihilistic and ashen view of life, experience of life. Okay, number 26. What movies could you watch over and over and still love? None, unless I'm doing it for language practice. If you're using a movie to memorize something in Chinese or in French or something, I can imagine doing that, but otherwise I wouldn't do that to myself. Number 27, who was the last person you kissed or who kissed you? Look, I'd love to tell you guys that I was cheating on my girlfriend, but I'm not. So she's the last person I kissed is the same person you guys know about from my YouTube channel as my girlfriend. Number 28, were you ever a Boy or Girl Scout? No, but my parents did enroll me in the younger program that was called the Beavers in Canada. So that's like below Boy Scouts, and I remember all this stuff from my youth very clearly. And that was a really kind of pathetic vantage on Canadian society as a whole. That didn't last that long, but it was really weird. And I mean, I think I was a really young kid then. Like, I don't know if that was junior kindergarten year or grade 1. I was a really small kid. But it seemed to me like me and all of the smarter kids picked up on the fact that the instructors knew they were just wasting our time, and like our parents were just paying these people to waste our time. It was just like, it was worse. It was not even babysitting. You know what I mean? It's like your parents had somewhere to be, so they paid these people to do nothing with you in a gymnasium. It's just ridiculous. Number 29, would you ever strip or pose nude in a magazine? Absolutely. I don't know. What's the magazine? It's more difficult to imagine what magazine that would be in. Foreign Policy? Financial Times? I don't know. Number 30, when was the last time you wrote a letter to someone on paper? I think that was writing to my daughter. I can remember drawing pictures, illustrations, and writing to my daughter and sending her stuff in the mail saying, your father still loves you, I miss you. I forget now if I was writing in English or French, to be honest. Might have been writing in French at the time. But, saying to her, you have a father and I look forward to seeing you again and so on. Yeah. That's I have various memories along those lines of writing on paper, but as you all know, it's less and less a factor in 21st century life. Number 31, can you change the oil on a car? No, I've never tried. I've never owned a car. 32, have you ever gotten a speeding ticket? Again, no, I'm a lifelong pedestrian. I have never driven a car. I've never owned a car. Never even rented a car. Have you ever ran out of gas? Please refer to my answers to 31 and 32. 34, favorite kind of sandwich? I think we covered this at length. I really don't have favorite foods, but again, I could eat nothing but the simple, black bean and broccoli diet I was describing before. The advantage of peas is that they're a lot easier to digest than black beans, but no, I'm just not wired up that way, or not anymore. Not what's left of me, not what remains of me after a life of such, tragedies and disappointments. There is nothing left in me that has a favorite kind of sandwich. A man of many sorrows. Number 35, the best thing to eat for breakfast. Probably you should take some frozen peas out of the fridge, pour boiling water over them, and just eat peas. Peas and broccoli. Get all your vitamins, minerals, and protein in for the day. That'd be a very impressive breakfast. What is your usual bedtime? I ain't got no usual bedtime. Number 37, are you lazy? Back when I was married to my first wife, I said to her many times that most people assumed I was much more hardworking than I am and much less intelligent than I am. And we were in situations like this. I mean, this isn't just I'm making up out of thin air. And that they would be shocked or maybe even disturbed if they realized that I was more lazy, but also much more brilliant than they thought I was. So, I had, the lecture I delivered, for example, at Oxford University, my ex-wife, my first wife, she saw me do all the research, all the preparation, all the writing for that. I think like it was like 2 hours on one day and like 3 hours on the next day or something, and that was it. And I know most people would have put, like 2 weeks of work into that for many, many hours. But no, I put that together, and again, just like I do now, I gave this very impressive lecture at Oxford. And, the professor organizing the event, he was tremendously impressed, so on and so forth. So, and again, I think everyone there assumed there was a lot of research and writing time that went into that, but no. So back in that period of my life, I said that I was a lot more lazy and more brilliant than most people thought I was. Looking ahead to the next period of my life, I don't know. I'm probably going to be less brilliant and more hardworking. Maybe I'm wrong. But that's my expectation. Back when I was at University of Victoria, you guys have already probably heard some of the videos talking about what my work ethic was there. That was probably a balance of brilliance and hard work. No, that was probably more hard work and less brilliance. Let's be real. Not a whole lot of brilliance got poured into those university assignments, but from the day I received the assignment from the professor, which is normally the first day of class, I would go to the library that day, start doing research that day. And that's why all my research assignments were as good as they were. So that was hard work rather than brilliance. Yeah, so that's kind of scary. So as I'm getting older, maybe I'm getting less lazy, but also less brilliant. I don't know. I feel a lot less intelligent now than when I was younger, but it may also be that I have higher and higher standards even applied to myself. 32. Nope. Yeah, see, I need to have a live-in intern. I need to have someone here holding up the title cards for me. What are we up to? When you were a kid, what did you dress up for at Halloween? So again, I remember all this stuff very clearly, but my childhood was very sad, so I never think about it. I never think about this stuff. But I can remember specific Halloweens. But it's not the case that I dressed up as the same thing every year. The very first Halloween I ever participated in, when I was barely tall enough to walk, so this would have been before I started kindergarten, before grade 1, when I was a little tiny kid. I simply took a pillowcase and cut holes for the eyes. I forget if there were 2 holes or 1 hole. You know what I think? I think I started with 2 holes, and then that was too hard to see through, so I cut 1 hole. So it was just a pillowcase. And I went on, of course, I was a really tiny kid. And when people opened their door, I said to them, "I am a ghost." And I was such a small kid that year. I could barely walk properly. Like I was just out of being a toddler. And wearing this pillowcase, I would take a few steps and then fall over because it was hard to walk with the pillow. I was so tiny. The pillowcase was longer than my entire body, right? Like I was so short and tiny, I didn't even fill a pillowcase. And of course, what I remember also was when I was looking up at these adults who opened their door on Halloween, all of them would just kind of freak out at how cute I was, right? Like they all found this like kind of unbelievably cute, this tiny pillowcase saying I am a ghost. But of course, they couldn't even see me. I mean, it was just this funny thing. I mean, I don't know. It's people. I guess I was cuter than other kids dressed up as vampires or something that seemed. But people seem to find this really cute and endearing. So there you go. That's one of my many memories of Halloween. Number 39. What is your Chinese astrological sign? It is, in fact, the same as the last name I use in Chinese. And many of you will know I have a Chinese name that I have used since 2007 or 2008, thereabouts. I've been using the same name in Chinese for many, many years. If you don't know, if you're new to my channel, I do speak, read, and write Chinese to a mediocre extent. Number 40. How many languages can you speak? English? It's not how many languages have you studied. I've studied many, many languages, but I am a master of just one. And I do reflect on this. I often see YouTubers who don't speak English nearly as well as I do, even though it's their first language, where they haven't really mastered English. And I think, you know what? Looking back at my life, I'm glad I put as much emphasis as I did on developing my ability in my first language. I don't look back and wish I'd spent more time developing mastery of Laotian, Cambodian, Korean, Japanese, French, German, Ojibwe, Cree. This is not a complete list of, Pali. Let's not forget Pali, language from India. I don't look back and wish I'd spent more time on those languages instead. 41, do you have any magazine subscriptions? Absolutely none. 42, what is better, Lego or Lincoln Logs? I don't like either one, but sure, you'd have to say Lego, if I'm playing with my daughter or something. 43, are you stubborn? Many of you would be shocked to hear this, but the answer really is no. I could get into kind of a long set of reflections on this, but I've pointed this out in different contexts, with professors even, with different authority figures in my life. It's very easy for an authority figure to try to reproach you as stubborn. You have to be prepared for it, because the reality is they just want you to submit and accept their authority. But I can remember saying to a professor, I've switched my major here 3 times. You've suggested that I take a course, and I just said, okay, and I took the suggestion. I was able to point to things look, the minute you made a positive suggestion of what I should do, I was willing to do it. I've come to you and said, what do you want me to do? And I did whatever it's just not true that I'm stubborn. I can give you a resume of the different points in our relationship as professor and student where you made the decision, you gave direction, and I went with it. So now you tell me I'm stubborn, where there's one thing you want me to do and I'm expressing skepticism. No. Being skeptical and being stubborn are 2 very different things. So sometimes you have to stand up to people and explain that you're not stubborn and give real examples of how you've been willing to take direction, how you've been willing to re-examine mistakes you've made and take on a new direction after you had a different direction before, this sort of thing. So here's a question that must be from the distant past. Question 44, who is better, Leno or Letterman? Those are people who were famous more than 10 years ago. But maybe nobody knows what those names are today, Leno and Letterman. Please, 45, ever watch soap operas? No, not in any language. If you want to learn Korean, South Korea does produce a lot of good soap operas. I'd say that's the best culture and language for soap operas. 45, are you afraid of heights? Not that I'm aware of, not compared to other people, but I haven't had a lot of practice where I know that. 47, do you sing in the car? I'm never in a car. So the last 10, 15 years, I've spent almost 0 time in a car. 48, do you sing in the shower? No. 49, do you dance in the car? Please refer back to my answer for number 47. But you know what? Probably the answer is yes. If I spent more time in cars, I guess I would dance in cars. Just haven't had the opportunity. 50, ever used a gun? I think if the verb is use, then the answer is no. I've held a gun, but no, I've never used a gun. 51, what was the last time you had your portrait taken by a photographer? Probably when I graduated from high school. They paid, the high school took a portrait of each person. I think it's never happened since then. 52, do you think musicals are cheesy? In a word, yes. I'm vegan, so, I'm reluctant to use the word cheesy, but yes. 53, is Christmas stressful? Only because I'm trying to abolish Christmas. I'm a nihilistic atheist, and I don't celebrate Christmas, so I make a big effort to try to give my daughter a meaningful holiday. That's an alternative to Christmas. 54, have you ever eaten a pierogi? Possibly not. Possibly, I never have, but if I did as a kid, I'd have no great memory of it. Probably I did at some point, but no, I have no memory of eating pierogies. 55, your favorite type of fruit pie. Fruit pie has really not been a significant part of my life. But I guess it would be. I guess it would be. Gee, that's hard to say. That's hard to say. I eat a lot of fruit, but fruit pie? I guess the higher art is probably just apple. There's a lot you can do with apple. The French have many different ways to make an apple tart. Pear, though. Pear tart. See, I'm familiar with French cuisine. Pear tart is a really refined art, too. But I was going to give it to someone like blackberry. That's a tough one. 56, occupations you wanted to be when you were a kid. Yeah, I thought a lot about different sciences. I didn't like the fact that many of the research sciences involve torturing animals. I was aware of that. And I thought I might go into botany for that reason, where you're doing research on plants. It doesn't involve torturing mice and what have you, or dogs. It doesn't involve that kind of research. So I did actually think about botany. Also, as a kid, I thought about the pure sciences, like theoretical physics. But as I found out more about each of those things, I think I made the right decision in deciding not to pursue any of them. I read books about it. I remember reading a book about theoretical physics when I was a small kid, and finding out more about what those fields of science are and what the job really entails. And yeah, I think I made the right decision in closing those doors. 57. Do you believe in ghosts? No. But I believe that there are people who see them, because I believe that hallucination is a very fundamental part of human life and culture. So people, both historically and presently, hallucinate more than they want to admit they do. So ghosts show up in history in every culture. There's an extent to which people can relatively easily dream while they're awake, including, by the way, when you have common diseases in the ancient world and still today. There are a lot of illnesses that cause hallucination. So, no, I do not believe in ghosts, but I believe that people do see things, people do hallucinate to a greater extent than we want to admit is normal in the modern world, and that we forget when we're looking back at the history of the ancient and medieval world. Have you ever had a deja vu feeling? Yes, I have. But most of the time when you stop and reflect on it, you can figure out why it is you have the deja vu feeling. Something about the situation reminds you of something else. There's normally a rational basis for why you felt that way. Do you take a vitamin daily? Yes, I'm vegan. I take all kinds of vitamins all the time. Do I wear slippers? Yes. It's hard for me to imagine now living in a circumstance where I'd stop, but yeah, I've lived in a lot of different climates and in a lot of different situations. And, I used to live in cultures in Southeast Asia where it was super, super important to take off your shoes when stepping into someone's home or when stepping through a door. That was a big deal culturally, ethically, So those years when I was living in Southeast Asia probably changed the way I saw shoes and slippers. Because when I was younger, I used to be barefoot in the house, or just socks, but I would wear heavy boots all the time, in Canada. So some of those things in my life really changed. Yeah. Do I wear a bathrobe? Not for many years now. No. If some of my ex-girlfriends are watching this, they'll remember me wearing bathrobes. But no, it's been many, many years since I was doing the bathrobe thing. All right. I could say some X-rated stuff here, but we'll skip it. 62. What do you wear to bed? I'm wearing a pajama shirt right now, actually. This had a matching pair of pants that was pretty terrific too. So this is actually a part of a pajama suit that my current girlfriend bought me. I could go on wearing this kind of thing, but hey, man, whatever. Sometimes I collapse naked often enough. I wear whatever is good to be worn. 63, first concert. I've been to very, very few concerts in my life, but I did see Bob Dylan perform live when I was a kid. I've been to just a few concerts. So yeah, I remember seeing Bob Dylan perform. That was a conventional white Western, live mainstream music concert. So I had that experience just a couple of times, and it's hard for me to believe anyone wants to waste the time and money to do that. Even for a very accomplished performer like Bob Dylan, I just can't believe people want to spend hundreds of dollars and so many hours to stand there and do that. It's really not worth it. You're literally better off staying at home and reading a book while listening to an album, while listening to music play out of your computer. You're better off walking up a mountain while listening to the music playing off your mobile phone or mobile device. Walmart versus Target versus Kmart, that's really not been part of my life at all. I have no opinion. When I spend time with my girlfriend, it's sometimes obvious how out of touch I am with mainstream American corporate, retail. It just hasn't really been part of my life. Nike versus Adidas. Today, that's changed over the years. Today, as a vegan, buying running shoes it's got to be Nike in 2020. If we're talking about the shoe game, we're not talking about, zip up gym pants. We're not talking about clothing. For the jackets and track pants, Adidas makes some good stuff. But for shoes, as a vegan, it's Nike in 2020. Cheetos or Fritos? Neither. I'm vegan. I don't eat any of that stuff. Peanuts or sunflower seeds? Neither. I don't eat this kind of high-fat food. The most high-fat thing in my diet is soy milk and tofu and stuff like that. I would never eat Cheetos, Fritos, peanuts, or sunflower seeds. Have I ever heard of the group Très Bien? No, never heard of them. Have I ever taken dance lessons? No, not unless you count being a really small child and you didn't have a choice. No. Is there a profession you picture your future spouse doing? I think I have to refuse on that question. Can you curl your tongue? Probably. 72, ever won a spelling bee? Never even participated in a spelling bee. 73, have you ever cried because you were so happy? No, I've cried because I was sad. 74, do you own any record albums? None, but I've lived out of a suitcase. Everything I own has to fit in a suitcase because I've moved from one home to the next so many times over the years. And do you regularly burn incense? No, not at all. I mean, back when I was involved with Buddhism as a religion, no, not even then and not now. Have you ever been in love? Yes, many times. I'm in love right now. Absolutely. I don't know if this was designed for a much younger person to answer, but yeah, sure. I have had the experience of being in love many times in many circumstances, and yes, I'm in love right now. 78, who would you like to see in concert? Nobody. Refer to the earlier question. What was the last concert you saw? Number 80, hot tea or cold tea? 81, tea or coffee? Look, I'm really kind of anti-caffeine in general. I would prefer to have no caffeine at all in my life. However, when I use caffeine, which I do sometimes, whether it's to cope with a common cold or to cope with jet lag, when I drink caffeine, I drink coffee and not tea, even though I like the taste of tea here in Taiwan. The mental effects, I find tea much more dizzying, whereas with coffee, I feel I'm just getting the caffeine. With tea, you're getting some other kind of mental effects. You feel a little bit out of it, and it messes up my sleep cycle much more and messes up my emotional state much more drinking tea. So if I'm going to use caffeine, and whenever I'm using caffeine, I'm constantly talking about quitting caffeine because I want to get back to zero caffeine and zero caffeine tolerance, it's going to be coffee and not tea. Sugar versus snickerdoodles, not part of my life, not part of my, not part of reality on planet Earth as I've known it. 83, can you swim well? Well enough. I would not say I swim well, but I can swim. 84, can you hold your breath without holding your nose? Yes. Yeah, I can go underwater like that. 85, are you patient? I'm patient when there is a reason to be patient, but I think ahead and I don't like wasting time. So in a situation where I'm aware that something is a waste of my time, then I am impatient for that reason. So whether you perceive me as patient or impatient will be relative to whether or not you agree with my assessment that something is or is not a waste of time. 86, DJ or band at your wedding? Yeah, well, I already have been married once. I think I've got to tell you, I would neither want a DJ nor a band at my wedding. Unless you did like a drum circle or something. You could do Japanese drumming. You could do Caribbean steel drumming. I don't know. Could you have participatory drumming where everyone who attends drums together? Would that be too dorky? No? What, there were those competitive drumming games for the Nintendo Wii, right? Could we work that in? My idea of a wedding may not be your idea of a wedding, guys. I'm willing to be creative, but I'm not willing to have people dance to, Parliament Funkadelic played by a DJ. That's not what I'm about at my wedding. 87, ever won a contest? Yes. 88, ever had plastic surgery? No. As you can tell, probably if you guys notice, I never even really had any work done on my teeth. So you can tell my teeth are naturally crooked. And to some extent, naturally straight, but whatever. No, I've never had anything whatsoever done. 89, which are better, black or green olives? So I briefly had a job working at Whole Foods, the grocery store, and I worked in that department. The department that included the expensive olive selection, right, where people can take a spoon and serve their own olives, not just olives in jars, but open air olives. And I have to tell you, black olives are better. There are obviously many different varieties of black olives, but black olives are indeed the more refined art form. 90. Can you knit or crochet? When I was a kid, I could. When I was a kid, I could crochet, but today I assume the answer is no. I'd have to get back to basics and study again. What is the best room for a fireplace? I would assume the central room in your house so that it heats all the other rooms. 92, do you want to get married? Yes, I want to be married all the time. I don't want to be married to my ex-wife, my first wife, but yeah, sure, if I could. I'd basically be married all the time, one way or another, with one 21st century postmodern arrangement or another. Yeah, I mean, I'm real open-minded about what marriage means in practice. My ex-wife was too, by the way. You know, whether it's open relationship or, you know, whether it's a group of people living together and cooperating and raising kids together. I mean, raising kids really requires more than two people. And you don't have to be having sex with all those people. You can have people who come together and form a family and work together to raise kids who have things in common, you know, and maybe nobody's having sex with anybody. Maybe you're all celibate. I don't even care. But having a community, having a sense of a small tribe, having a family that really works together, and marriage being a part of that, sure, man. Those are huge priorities in my life, and always have been, you could say. I mean, how far back always goes would be another trip down memory lane. 94. Who was your high school crush? Man, for me, high school was a long time ago, and it lasted a long time. I had a crush on a bunch of different women. I pursued a bunch of different women, and most of the time, my pursuit of them was reciprocated. So what, is a crush only supposed to be someone who didn't reciprocate? I can remember examples of that also. I guess they just want a name. I guess they just want a one-word answer. But, you know, the problem for me in high school, there were a lot of really, really beautiful women. There were a lot of beautiful women who were interested in me, or who quickly became interested in me when I just talked to them. Many times I had that experience with women who were stunningly beautiful, really amazing. And some of those women went on to become models, and one of them went on to become a TV actress. I mean, so one of them went on to become a stripper. she's another story. But, you know, so it's not just my opinion that they were attractive women. A lot of them went on to do jobs where they exploited their, you know, socially recognized form of beauty. But, you know, my main problem again and again and again was that these women were too stupid for me. So even if you meet someone and they're attractive, and as soon as you're talking to them, it's like, am I going to lie to myself and tell myself this person is smart enough for me? And, you know, I really couldn't do it. So that was the main shadow cast over my life already in high school, let alone university, is that, you know, and you know, you got to try. You got to try to, you know, you got to try to take lemons and make lemonade. You got to try to love people on their terms, not on your terms. You got to try to love people for their redeeming qualities they have, not the redeeming qualities you wish they had. But yeah, I got a problem with having a crush on stupid people or falling in love with and being in a relationship with stupid people. It doesn't really work for me. All right, coming down to the last couple questions here. 95, do you cry and throw a fit until you get your own way? One word answer, no. 96, do you have kids? I have one kid. You've already heard a lot about her. 97, do you want kids? Yeah, sure. I want the one daughter I have, whom I now haven't seen for more than 12 months. I also want, say, one more child. Depending on the situation, you know what? Depending on the situation, I could have 2, 3, 4, 5 more kids. I could actually. But I assume that there's maybe just one more child in my future. I don't know. Yeah. No, it depends. Yes, I would like to have more children, plural, or one more child. We'll see what's possible. And you know what the other thing is? I have the maturity and detachment that if it's not possible, I just wouldn't have another kid. It's easy for me to imagine also circumstances where it would be really unwise for me to take on the further responsibility and risk of having a second kid. Number 98, what is your favorite color? They got the toughest questions for last. Oh, this question just doesn't make sense to me. I think something my girlfriend knows about me. It's not a specific favorite color, but I really do intentionally buy things with strong contrasting colors that make them easy to find. So for example, this is a speaker. This is a portable speaker. It plays music from your computer, plays whatever audio is coming out of your computer. You can listen to YouTube videos with it. I would intentionally prefer something like this be bright red or bright orange. A lot of electronic gadgets are just black. So this is a cell phone, and then they just disappear. Like you have a black item sitting on a black desk. So I do intentionally buy things that are bright orange and bright red that integrate into my life that way, so that when you're looking around your apartment, you can find them more easily. So that is a kind of favorite color, but I mean, it could be bright green, it could be anything. I do intentionally tend to buy objects in colors that will make them easy to recognize and easy to find. Question number 99, do you miss anyone right now? Well, my girlfriend Melissa is disqualified because I'm going to see her again just a few days from now in the future. Yes, I miss my daughter.